Hello and welcome to Strive Defense Dialogue. I'm your host, Brigadier Rakesh Bhatia. Today, after a long gap, we have invited Major General Sudhakarji Vishesh Seva Medal to our platform once again. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Rakesh. It's always a great pleasure reconnecting with Strive International and particularly you as the anchor.
Thank
So,
you very much,
suffice,
sir.
suffice to say, you've been able to energize and contribute significantly, made the platform very formidable. It has turned out to be a big attraction for the international audience as well. While along the west coast of America, I found quite a few people were talking something like strive without knowing the full meaning of strive. So,
Okay.
compliments, kudos. Let's going ahead, get going ahead, please.
Thank you very much, sir, for all the good words for our think tank, sir. Sir, today I have thought of asking your opinion based on very recently. I think you had given an interview, sir, where you had spoken about survival of Pakistan. So when we were discussing this, so the idea came: can actually Pakistan survive without the economic, military, and political support of China? Now, this is a $1 million question. Now, in recent months, there are few developments that have taken place in South China, which has basically there's been a geopolitical shift in South Asia, if I may use the word. There is deterioration of US-China relations. There is decline in China and India relations. US has withdrawn from Afghanistan. India-US relation has improved. Chinese investment in Pakistan, substantial investment is there. Now, all these developments have pushed China and Pakistan more closer. They are sharing equipment, they're carrying out joint exercises, but despite all this, China does not have a military alliance with Pakistan. China has military alliance only with one country, that is North Korea. So, lack of military alliance means that China is not treaty bound to come to Pakistan's rescue in case there is a threat to Pakistan, either militarily or geopolitically. But despite this, there has been a constant cooperation economically, militarily, politically, including in the international fora. So, my take is that there is a famous saying: is Pakistan China's Israel in Asia? What Israel does for the US in West Asia is Pakistan doing the same for China, especially in our region of South Asia. I would like you to make your opening comments on this, sir.
Okay. Rakesh, if you have finished, given the preamble, if I can start. Firstly,
Yes,
thank
sir,
you.
please.
Thank you for welcoming me and giving me this opportunity to present my views. And ladies and gentlemen, these are my personal views after years of research and private studies. I don't legislate, nor do I intend to contradict anybody's individual conviction or point of view. So you have made two, three important points. In that, first and foremost thing is that will Pakistan be able to survive without China's support? One. Number two, the the geopolitics, geoeconomics, and geosecurity in 21st century, after having gone through the journey of pandemic COVID-19, Hamas and Israel conflict ongoing, preceded by Ukraine and Russia conflict, appears to be gravitating towards South China Sea and essentially Taiwan. So, under the circumstances, if that be so, given the fact of high dependency of Pakistan on China, will China be prepared to extend its assistance in form of boots on ground to Pakistan and come to its defense in times of crisis and need? This is what I have understood. If I am wrong, do correct me.
No, absolutely, sir.
And last but not the least, where is the world heading to? Though you have not said, and you have allowed me to reflect my thoughts if time permits. First, let's come to the first point, that will Pakistan be able to survive? Ladies and gentlemen, these are my personal views. Pakistan was allowed to be created way back in 47. It was allowed to be developed on the premise and concept of religion and language. It was allowed to be spearheaded by none other than Jinnah and Liaquat Ali Khan. Unfortunately, the founding fathers of Pakistan, they passed away in a very tight time frame of, I think, 1 to 2 years of independence of Pakistan. And unfortunately, neither the political leadership nor a statesman leadership in Pakistan could spearhead the ideology based on which Pakistan was created. And then began the crisis, constitutional crisis. You call it constitutional coup, followed by military coup. Technically speaking and legally speaking, there have been three military coups and number of numerous coups which have taken place, constitutional and military. Some of them have come to light, some of them haven't. So, having gone through this journey, the dependence of the perception of the Pakistani citizen today is very high in the deep state. When I say deep state, what I mean is the military, and military driven by ISI. So, therefore, to say that whether Pakistan will continue to exist as it is to me, it appears to be a very hypothetical question, because behind the creation of Pakistan was a scaffold like support from US in form of SETO and CENTO. Although I'm given to understand, and whatever my memory supports, Pakistan has pulled out. It's no longer a member of SETO and CENTO. Timelines I'm forgetting. One of them he pulled out. Pakistan pulled out in 70s. One later. So it's neither. It doesn't have any commitment from the US side to support whatever they had committed at that point in time. But the support is in form of different, multiple forms, basically to reap dividends in support of the national interest of USA. It continues, regardless of the agreement having been dissolved between the two countries. So, what is it that it is just a kind of a reputation, the strategic, geostrategic importance of Pakistan, and host of other issues. But one of the central issues is, as on today in 21st century, it is China which is threatening the existence of America as a superpower. No superpower would like to lose its authority and supremacy after having tasted the the flavor of being a superpower for so long, more than, I'll say, 100 years or so. So, therefore, America, in my opinion, will go all out to sustain its supremacy all over the world. Although we know, we are very mindful of the fact that it's a declining superpower. There is no denying the fact. So much so, if you allow me, let me clarify one point here, that post the end of Cold War, let's say after 1991, the nearest timeline that comes to my mind is 1995, if I recall correctly. And just compare it with a profile I am going to present or share with the viewers of 1970s. In 70s, North America, West Europe, Japan, all these countries put together, they had dominance in the global trade, something close to 70% or more than 70%. Now, when you come to the 2000 or say early part of this century, the dominance of trade by China is much more than that. 120 countries out of 192 countries, they are doing trade with China. And giving you a broad spectrum, a broad statement from my side, China today enjoys trade surplus in its favor in all the continents, all countries without any exception. You name anything, European Union, you talk about the ASEAN, you talk about USA, talk any country. So in 1995, there was a statistical comparative matrix which was floating in social media. Also, there are a number of books wherein the authors I refer to. You say the country, the G7 countries, there is a, it is not a fear. It is actually going to happen. What I'm going to share now, the G7 countries, they enjoyed a percentage of dominance to the tune of 44.9%. Global trade, I'm talking PPP, purchasing power parity, in 1995. In 1995, the global south represented by, at that point in time, call it BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they had just about 16 point around 6% of the PPP dominance. 15 years later, this dominance by the G7 had come down by almost about 10%. And the dominance of the BRICS countries had gone up to 26.9%. And now, in 2023, when you compare, the G7 has reduced further, gone down drastically, and the BRICS countries have risen up to a percentage of 32 to 33%. The latest I was reading today evening, only it's touching 35% of the dominance. It's rising. And with the number of members increasing in the BRICS, you can well imagine where it is going to head to. What I am coming to is that in one of the articles today evening only I was reading that Russia, as per the purchasing power parity, is the third largest economy in the world. I was surprised. I was not surprised, rather. I was delighted to actually read that. So if you include Russia, you have China, you have Russia, you have India, you have Japan, and you have USA. Out of first five countries in the world, as per the PPP, there are four countries which are from Asia. So goes without saying that in testimony of what I am extending in my argument, that the 21st century is Asia's century, but within Asia itself, we don't have to, at the cost of repeating, it's axiomatic to state India is the brightest spot. So therefore, when you come to the question, moot question which you are asking, that will Pakistan, I know I have taken a divergent, absolutely extreme end. I'm bringing you back to the core issue. Will Pakistan be able to survive? If Pakistan survives today, in my opinion, it is going to survive. No nation in the world is going to be left unattended by the so-called declining superpower. There is a book which is written by Daniel Marquez, it's an American author. He's carried out extensive research of pre and post Cold War and the duration in the 21st century or the post Cold War, and come to a conclusion that no exit from Pakistan. Name of the book is No Exit from Pakistan. It says that America under no circumstances will be able to exit from Pakistan. Why? There are many reasons which he has actually, dilated, but three primary reasons in that book which he highlights is, first and foremost, is that the missile network and the nuclear arsenal are so dangerous that America has to have a tight leash on the complete network. One. Number two, that Pakistan is the only country in the world, only country which has got very, very intimate and close relationship with the civilian and military leadership of China. So, given the fact that the number one enemy which can challenge the supremacy of America in 21st century, be it to 2049 or earlier than that, being China, then will America ever divorce its strategic partner, that is Pakistan? A third and most important point, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who have been reading the analysis, Global Firepower Index, As per the latest 2024 Global Firepower Index, Pakistan is been adjudged as the ninth largest armed forces in the
Ah,
world.
that's correct.
And if it is the ninth largest, mind you, it is higher than Iran, higher than many other countries in the Middle East. So if it is ninth largest, the book has expounded, not a theory, on practical real terms. It is given out beautiful details that this army, if it is not kept under a tight leash, it can not only destabilize the region, but also the global order. So therefore, under these three reasons, is expounded the concept that at no cost, at no circumstances, that America can afford to leave Pakistan. No exit Pakistan is the name of the book. Author is Daniel Marquet. Those of you who are keen, who can read the book, and it's a beautiful reading, one sitting reading. You, since you yourself, you are a profound reader, you'll love the book. If you actually open the page, you will not finish. Close the book until you finish it. So this is one part. Second part I wish to highlight is, yes, we know that Pakistan has gone in for 23 bailouts. What is the architecture today? It is the Western architecture. It is the transatlantic architecture on which the security apparatus and the global apex organization is existing and surviving. But regardless, you see, I am not trying to make a point whether it is effective, not effective. Just put that aside. But today, you and me are breathing, talking, communicating through the video conferencing, existing as citizens of India or in the Committee of Nations, is because of this particular architecture. So, therefore, the fact of the matter remains that whether that SETO or CENTO is effective or dissolved is immaterial. But Pakistan continues to have its relevance for many things. Like for America, I have said that it cannot leave Pakistan. Similarly, China also cannot leave Pakistan. Why? China is not looking at Pakistan as a strategic neighbor. China is looking at Pakistan long before it gained its establishment in way back in 1st October 1949 as a piece of geographical land which is contiguous and which will enable it to connect with the warm water of the Arabian Sea. It is going to shorten its distance, give a short circuit, a minimum distance for import of energy security. And most important point is that Pakistan, being a Islamic state, it is going to become a central conduit to connect with all the Islamic republics because China has got a big threat, Uyghur Muslims. So, what does it do? Out of 57 countries in the OIC, there are none who are standing up against China, despite knowing the fact there are extensive human rights violations which are going on, the genocide going on against the Uyghur. So either way, China is going to play ball with both the USA as also China. But my sense is that as America is becoming a gradual kind of a declining power, proximity makes a lot of difference. Geographical contiguity makes a lot of difference. If my house is burning, if my neighbor is able to get a bucket of water to douse fire, I would prefer my neighbor rather than calling up somebody from Kolkata or from Thailand. You may be having a family member. So, therefore, going by the common sense and the logic, I personally feel in times of crisis, which Pakistan is heading to today, Pakistan is dependent on China something to the tune of 76% of its military hardware. 76%. Our dependence on Russia was once upon a time 82%. It has come down to 36%. But still, the kind of hardware we are holding for next 30, 40 years, we have to depend on them for the spare parts. There is no second way about it. So likewise, talk about the debt crisis. $62 billion of CPEC. Okay, as per the latest statistics, you may be having the latest. I have come across $42 billion at places it is written 28 billion, but actually it is $46 billion out of 62 has been committed on the ground. CPEC is basically a conceptual network of roads, connectivity, power stations, and basically they are providing, as per the written document, they are providing assured employment of 2,36,000 to Pakistanis. But the inside story is something different. They are employing the Chinese.
Yes.
They are employing the Chinese. So the part that you are bringing out is, will Pakistan survive? My answer is yes, but survive at the cost of the following. First and foremost thing is the constitution. Today, Pakistan has got a constitution which came into existence only after liberation of Bangladesh. That constitution is based on, the central theme of the constitution is based on Islamization, to spread the prophet's guidelines on the face of the planet.
Correct.
Neither of the people, for the people, by the people. The democracy, Islamic Republic is there, but the concept of Sharia law is inbuilt in the constitution. Welfare of the people is not there. One. Second thing which is coming to my mind is that yes, in 2012 there is a caveat, there is a constitutional amendment. Not much of discussion has taken place in open media. The IMF, World Bank, ADB, and other international organizations, they have imposed a kind of a rider that should they be going in for any bailout, any economic assistance in future, if there is a military coup, well, they will be denied this particular entitlement. So that is what it's putting a stop before, free for all military coup, this thing, that thing happening, and the military leaders taking over. It's not going to be that easy. Third and most important thing which is coming to my mind is the dependency of Pakistan on China is going to grow by the day. As on today, there is a huge, colossal amount of the debt servicing. 30% of the external debt is actually that of China. So, how does Pakistan service the debt? Roll over once, twice, thrice, like bailout, you keep having, they keep accumulating. So, at one point in time, a crisis will crop up, something like Hamuntota in Sri Lanka. So, there is a fear. India has to be very watchful of Gilgit and Baltistan. You never know. Shakska Valley has been seeded. One fine day, they may present it on a platter. Ki, sorry, Gilgit Baltistan is also gone. So India has to be prepared. So
Sir,
what I'm doing,
I would absolutely agree to you, because it was in 2010, I think, when Gilgit Baltistan, Pakistan was ready to give it on lease to China for perpetual lease. But somehow China at that time was of the opinion that there may be an international outcry. So that time China was not as assertive as it has become today under Xi Jinping. Those were the days when we had Hu Jintao, who was not so assertive, and he still believed in Deng's philosophy of hide your capabilities, bide your time. But Xi Jinping is different. If today, what you are saying, if Gilgit Baltistan is on lease to Pakistan, correction, China, and we have already, we have news that Chinese PLA under the garb of Xinjiang Production and Construction Code are already there in Gilgit Baltistan. Yes, it is a point to which our armed forces need to be alive to. Over to you, sir.
so excellent. And let's not be surprised by what is going to happen in Gwadar, because although unofficially, I think through your channel only, I came to know that Americans have been already afforded two bases in Gwadar, two bases,
Yes.
one near the
Yes.
naval headquarters, one another this thing. But it's
Yes.
good. It's good, but it is too little, too late. Gwadar, as per my estimate and assessment, is going to be given on a platter to China. We can do very little to actually take it back from China, because they're already into an agreement of 40 years. 40 years of lease has been given. So this lease is going to be extended after 40. Who remembers what is going to happen after 40 years? In 2064, neither you will be alive nor I will be alive. The
But
future
sir,
generation could be.
but I have a question for you here, sir. Sorry for the intervention, sir. So the very purpose of creating Pakistan was to deny communist Russia, or Soviets at that time, warm access to warm water. Similar thing, by handing over Gawadar, or I may say slowly, China may go into the entire western coast of Pakistan, aren't you doing the repeat of, instead of that time Soviet Union, now you are giving access to the warm water to communist China, who has whose ambitions are much more than what the Soviet Union's ambitions at that time was. So the very purpose for which Pakistan was created, do you see as some sort of seesaw game happening in western coast with Balochistan situation in mind? How do you see the future holding for China, Pakistan, and the US in Balochistan with this background that I have given?
Excellent, excellent. Rakesh, I can't thank you enough. In fact, you have taken me to the right spot to save on time as well. You see, China, I liked one of your presentations wherein you have gone in for communism, socialism, all kinds of isms, Marxism, Leninism. So you've defined that beautifully. China, if you ask me, my personal opinion, whatever study I have done, it is not a classical communist country. It is
Yes,
a
it is not.
hybrid. It's a hybrid communism. It has got the best of, I would say, this is a country which is saying that the capitalism of US and the socialism of China mixed
Yes.
together will give me such kind of a attribute or capability which will enable me to gallop faster than any country in the world, which is
They've
happening.
done so. They've done so in last decade or so, sir.
Yeah. So coming back to the point, yes. You see, if these are the kinds of dynamics which are evolving by the day, I think it's about time that we are to realize and accept and acknowledge that the world is not doing enough.
Yeah.
Pakistan is already on the lap of China. One or two bases after having got a wake up call in Afghanistan, after having got a kick in Ukraine, that no amount of superficial support is going to make Ukraine win the war against Russia. No amount of sanctions against Russia is going to actually make you a victorious kind of alliance, Western alliance. Western alliance today, should I give you some statistics? Some friends have been telling me I come out with statistics very frequently. Without statistics, there is no fun. Do you know there is an estimate which has been carried out after 2023 that the artillery shells, the capability of artillery shells being produced by Russian defense industry in 1 year is more than 4.5 million.
Yes.
In 1 year, 12 months. That means per month it comes to 370,000 or 375,000. Do you know, put together the European Union or the European nations and the North America, the transatlantic countries, America, Canada, put together, how much do they produce? They produce 1.3 million.
Oh,
This is a clear reflection of the capability of waging a war and succeeding war. Why has Russia been successful so far? Russia is successful on two accounts. First, the defense production capability, which was existing. You are a military historian yourself, you would have read a lot of books. In Second World War, they had this capability of producing, despite having had setbacks, serious setbacks.
yes.
When the
Yes.
Germany was invading, okay, Stalingrad had fallen. They had come through the same area, Kiev and
Correct.
Stalingrad and this place. So Russia has been able to produce for two things. One, a defense production capability. The second thing is for producing ammunition, rocket propellant, missiles, or your aerial lethal weapon systems, anything for that matter, you require a chemical ingredient. It is called a nitrocellulose, which I have alluded to in one of your discussions or maybe in the interview which took place in California. Okay, this nitrocellulose today, there is only one country which produces in abundance because it has got 97% control over the minerals in the world, that is China. China has been quietly providing dual use, which General Harsh Kakar had written in a number of his articles. Dual use material to Russia. One of them happens to be nitrocellulose. Nitrocellulose is used for varnish, making a varnish, and paint. Also, without this ingredient, you cannot produce any gunpowder or any kind of explosive worth its. So, because of this and the defense production lineup they have, they have the capability of producing more than 5 lakh, I would say, more than 5 lakhs in a month of artificial. The requirement as far as the Russia is concerned, per day minimum requirement is 20,000 shells, 20 to 22,000 shells every day. In a month, if you multiply, it comes to 6 something. Okay, so they're able to produce just about 5 lakhs. They're still short. The
But,
requirement in case of Ukraine is almost about 15,000. They have 8,000 per day.
so here, my question to you is, sir. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
in this context, my question to you is: we know that Russia is probably the only country which is self-sufficient in most of the natural resources, including energies. That is why probably Russia is able to sustain this high intensity war with Ukraine. Literally, it is against the entire NATO that Russia is fighting, the way where Ukraine is being helped. But when we look at China, its biggest problem is energy securities. Now, with CPAC or BRI, I'll not single out CPAC, with BRI being hampered because of certain conditions like internal security situation in Pakistan, there are issues in Central Asian Republic. Sea lanes of communications can be seriously disrupted with Houthis in Red Sea and with the Persian Gulf blockade, with piracy from Somalia. There are a lot of issues as far as energy enrichment or requirement of China is concerned. So, do you think it is that China can be choked with this thing by the US, and maybe if India's interests are also involved, what happens to China and Indian Ocean regions?
Yeah, yeah, it's a very interesting diversion from the main question you had asked. Let me complete the first question.
Yes, sir,
The
sorry.
first question is, uh, will Pakistan survive? The answer to the question is yes. It is not that simple and easy to write off, to wipe out a nation from the face of the planet. This is my study and analysis. You may have a different view. Okay, Pakistan will survive not by virtue of its capability. It will survive by virtue of its importance and relevance to USA and China. Okay, General
So, sir,
Dushyant is not.
in the lighter vein, whenever Pakistan is playing World Cup, वो कुदरत के निजाम के ऊपर बहुत विश्वास करता है कि हम तो हार गए हैं, अभी आयरलैंड को कनाडा बीट कर दे और यूएसए को इंडिया बीट कर दे तो हम कुदरत के निजाम के हिसाब से आगे चल जाएंगे. तो
Absolutely. That is what exactly going to happen. You are talking and getting alarmed by 23 bailouts. Let me tell you, by 2050, when India would be enjoying a status of 35 trillion worth of US dollar economy, Pakistan also is going to rise. Let me tell you, do not underestimate the economy of Pakistan. Pakistan will be notching up to a figure of 3 to 4 trillion nominal terms. 3 to 4 trillion dollar US economy by 2050. This is my assessment. Okay, and it's going to improve. It's not going to be that bad, huh? So the first and foremost response to your question is that Pakistan will survive by साम दाम दंड वैद कटोरी लेके भागते रहेंगे इधर उधर सऊदी अरेबिया कभी यूएई कभी China is going to give rollover of the loans. It will carry on like this. CPEC will never get completed.
IMF ने 25 बारी लोन दे दिया सर, which is the country in the world which has got 25 loans over a period of time.
Yeah. You see, more than anything else, let's not lose fact of one important issue. Yes, you made a point about the spread of communism. The USSR, Soviet Union communist expansion and threat to the undivided British India Empire. Okay, it's because of that the Pakistan was created. Today, Pakistan is being sustained apart from that issue, whether right or wrong, apart from China, containment of China, there is a bigger threat to the Western alliance. That bigger threat is India. They have to keep some kind of a strategic country to keep an eye and do fingering like the way they're doing at Poonch and Rajouri, then Riyasi. So kuch na kuch karte rahenge. Manipur is also burning. Suddenly, Manipur के बाद और कुछ Doklam will become active. So something other will happen. We should remain mindful of our own security and take preventive measures so that, you see, bleeding India with 1,000 cuts is not a one night operation. The mere statement of bleeding India with 1,000 cuts is an eternal kind of a threat. So therefore, India has to be prepared with an eternal response matrix. That's my take. Now, coming to the second question, which you are saying, you see, often many people have been writing. I've been reading a lot. Lots of books are saying CPEC will not be successful. Take my word, Rakesh. It is my conviction. I am more than confident that whether it is successful or not, China is left with no option. If a conflict of Taiwan, which in my opinion, peaceful reunification of Taiwan is simply impossible.
Yes.
Taiwan will not unify peacefully. It is just not possible. So, therefore, what it comes to is a kinetic means of forceful or coercive means of unification, which again is going to trigger a full fledged conflict across Taiwan Strait. Taiwan Strait is 130 to 180 kilometers wide with unpredictable current pattern, with less number of suitable ideal military beachheads. Take your mind back to Normandy operation. In Normandy operation, almost about 8,000 ships had been used, almost about 8 lakh troops had been employed. Before the operation was carried out, there was a secret uh,
Reconnaissance.
what do you say, coordination, activities of coordination, grouping, because depending on the objective across the strait, they have to go, they have to select the objective, what kind of troops will be there, who will be the supporting troops, how is going to the communication, supply chain kaisa hoga, after they have captured, how are they going to expand the bridgehead, these kind of things. So that coordination is a very time consuming process. It's not that easy. For a Normandy like operation, you had 8 lakh troops, 800,000, 8,000 ships were used.
Yes.
Today, if China has to go in for a thing like that, across the distance of this strait, 130 kilometers, minimum, maximum 180 kilometers, you can well imagine that Merihel will be played by all the forces inimical to China because the TRA, Taiwan Relation Act of 1970s, 79, 76, it clearly says as long as it is a peaceful reunification, we have no problems. The moment you coerce Taiwan to reunify it, if Taiwan objects, then we'll be left with no option. We'll not say about boots on ground, but definitely will come to the defense of Taiwan. Okay, so therefore, what I'm coming to is that this operation is likely to get extended beyond the time frame which China may be thinking. 7 to 10 days operation is not possible, sir. It will take much more than 2 months. China has got an oil reserve of 55 to 60 days as on today. In order to replenish, because they do not have containers. Yeah, even if they have containers, they need to actually feed the oil to the industry to revive the industry. Industry is already in a slum. Secondly, they have to cater for the reserve. If they have to cater for the reserve coming from Middle East through the Persian Gulf, across the Indian Ocean, through Malacca Strait to East China Sea, it takes anything between 14 to 21 days. There are many number of choke points. India of late has established a choke point near Minicoy Island. Okay, so similarly, there are many Andaman Nicobar base, our logistic base, it turning out to be a huge choke point. It can play very well with any kind of containers, oil supply or energy supply by the China. Malacca dilemma, which is a concept which has been paraphrased at the time of Hun Jintao when he was the president, is actually a dilemma. Therefore, it is looking for options like Kra Canal, looking for options like something else towards this side. Sitwe, what is that? Kakafo port. Okay, so that it can have oil pipeline, but that is too far to reach. You never know it
But
may
it
not
is,
reach there. So
but
therefore,
none of them is making progress, sir.
correct. So therefore, what I'm coming to is the only possible option which China has to play around, despite the fact you and me are convinced that CPEC is not going to be successful,
But
is
sir, what happens to 25 militant groups which are roaming around in Pakistan, sir, especially in Balochistan?
so this is a quagmire. This is a catch-22 situation. Okay, so I'm giving the benefit of
Sir,
doubt.
I feel bad for one issue. I don't know why countries are not understanding. Either we don't know much about it or whatever. China may be spending so much of money in creating CPAC. Firstly, you have yourself said that majority of people who are employed are Chinese who are getting the job. The money is going to be paid by the host country, in case of CPAC by Pakistan. The material is coming from China. The expertise is coming from China. So the entire money is going back to China, and the future generation is going to repay the money, and with every failure the rate of interest is so high. But despite that, poor man in Pakistan is so happy that deeper than ocean and higher than Himalayas and sweeter than honey, without realizing that China तो बहुत बड़ा बिजनेसमैन है. वो तो पूरी अच्छा, in return they are also asking for important locations on lease. They may ask for an airfield, they may ask for Karachi port to be given, handed over to them, like they have done in case of Hambantota. But unfortunately, probably the level of awareness in Pakistan is so low. But other than feeling bad, sitting here and making some sound about it, you can do nothing.
Yeah, yeah. So what it brings to is the second question is about the energy security. Its dependence on CPEC is going to be so high, being nearest to the Middle East. Plus, it gives an avenue to China to develop CPEC. Rawalpindi said turn low up Rawalpindi. Oh, Islamabad Rawalpindi. So CPEC se turn है ना Karakoram highway से it turns towards Rawalpindi. Is it's a very short distance. Thereafter goes to Peshawar and develop it towards Kabul, Aini copper mine, and basic aim is to go and touch Turkmenistan gas reserve. Turkmenistan has got the largest
Right.
gas reserve in the world. So its basic aim is to connect with the Turkmenistan and through the pipeline bring it to the CPEC and across Khunjara Pass bring it to Kashgar, and Kashgar is going to be developed into a multiple distribution center to the mainland. Mainland is thousands of kilometers away. So that is the concept on which China is developing. But whether it will succeed or not, it is anybody's guess. My take on the whole issue is that it is too ambitious to be fulfilled during Jin Jinping tenure. I don't think the gentleman will ever be able to lucky to see these kind of things fructifying during his tenure. His health is also not good, and there are so many things taking place. They are gravitating against Jin Jinping's theory and concept. So that answers my your second question. Choke points are there. China is throttled from all sides. Therefore, it will compel China to, no matter what pressure comes against it, to go in for Taiwan, because Taiwan is like a existing geographic piece of land which gives a platform or launch pad to China to expand its sphere of influence towards the Pacific. If Taiwan falls on the lap of China, if at all, it's a pipe dream. I don't think it will ever happen. So it will give a kind of avenue to China's resources, military resources, to go beyond the first chain island to the second chain, and from second chain towards Hawaii, and thereafter threaten the west coast of America. So therefore, in the military strategy, if you read the Pentagon document, that clearly brings out that America's primary threat is to prevent China, no matter what happens, to break out from the first chain of island. So this is America's strategy. I think in one of the presentations of discussions, you have covered it. So that answers two of your questions. Now we go to the second part, or the next part, maybe.
Sir, so in conclusion, what we have covered so far, firstly, correct me, sir, if I miss out something. Firstly, you feel that Pakistan will survive, whatever Kudrat ka Nizam, whether it is USA which comes to its rescue, or China comes to its rescue, or things matter. Like in the past, something happened in Afghanistan and the money starts coming. So, like somebody had very rightly said कि वो पाकिस्तान का न्यूमरोलॉजी कुछ इस तरह का है कि some external factor comes in and it starts its economy, sustains itself. Second issue you're saying, sir, that a lot will depend on how China is going to tackle the Taiwan issue. And if Taiwan falls, which you feel is unlikely in near future, then China is going to grow that much more confident. And third, this thing you have said is that no matter what, CPAC is going to be a success. So these are the three conclusions, major conclusions that we have drawn. Sir, now we have few questions. Until unless there is some important issue that you want to bring in, sir, shall we take on the questions? Because there are few issues which you can cover. We have good questions which have appeared, sir. Before I start taking the question, may I request you, in case you feel there is something important that you want to convey which you have not been able to convey so far?
Okay, quick points. It has all of us are learned and aware of what is happening around the world. Firstly, the geopolitics of the global order is changing into multilateralism. It is no longer a unipolar world. USA will continue to dominate the world as if the 20th century was that of USA. Even they are under the perception that 21st century is also of USA, which is not so. Number two, the future conflict, as per me, as per my understanding, is not going to be a kinetic form. ये आजकल जो हो रहा है ना, ये यूक्रेन किस ये, this is just a one-sided warfare which is going to die out. That boots on ground concept will die out very soon, and it will, if at all it takes place, it will be in hybrid form. And what is going to happen is that the conflicts will take place in form of economics. Okay, so this is my take. China, for all you know, may not fight a war against India. It will raise the cost of its security so much so that it will start hurting us, like the way we have not done. Pakistan had done created a situation for itself.
Yeah.
Okay. Third thing which is coming to my mind is that I didn't say no matter what happens, CPEC is going to be a success. Whether CPEC is going to be a success or not is dependent on multiple factors. But what I'm saying is that China will be left with no option but to break through CPEC despite all impediments, make use of border, and bring the energy through a secure corridor as far as possible, despite 20, आप 25 कह रहे हैं, मेरे पास 47 groups हैं, militant terrorist groups. There are 47 groups who are floating around. Okay, the Uyghur Muslim itself, between Kashgar and Jaidullah, they will impose blockade. They will not allow to come. It's not simmering. It is boiling, sir.
It is.
Xinjiang province, it is boiling. It will implode. It will not implode. It will explode. Because Xinjiang never belonged to China. It is part of Turkestan. India has to, what I'm trying to say is, India must identify these vulnerabilities and leverage them as part of a short, medium term, and long term strategy. Let's not sit quietly. Let's not allow China to show us teeth and eyes. If he does this, you see, renaming of 30 names may have been a short term response to that particular. Why the hell India has been waiting for so long? In 2017, first 6 names came. The first response should have been 6 ki jagah 60 आप देते. Okay. Thereafter, the next one came was 2017, 2021. 15 names. Then thereafter, 2023, 11 names. In 2023 itself, in the Indian Ocean region, 2,000 kilometers away from the western coast, okay, towards the Oman, EEZ, and all these places, and deep into the Indian Ocean region. They have named the topography under the surface.
Yeah.
Where in the world such kind of things has happened? If they can do, why not? It has to
Yeah.
be, sorry to use, this is a non-military kind of a thing. Tit for tat is also part and component of a hybrid warfare which India has to indulge in a
Yeah.
serious manner, and we have to adopt a coherent IW strategy. Coherent, formalized, structured, has to be led by a minister, has to be led by a three-star general, have to have different verticals. We have created cyber vertical, we have created electromagnetic vertical. The DRDO is doing a lot, but that's not enough. We have to double up our speed and the volume of our output in order to contain, compete, and contest the adversary, which is actually 20 to 30 years ahead of India in infrastructure. And these kind of abilities I have shared. Back to you, please.
Right, sir. We'll take on the question, sir. Uh, there is no answer to what Mr. Tilak Deveshar has said way back in 2018. WEEP, which is an acronym for Water, Education, Economy, and Population Problems. How long will they let Pakistan survive if survival is impossible?
This is, I think he's referring to this book. Did you see
Yes.
this?
Ah, yes, yes. He's referring to
Yeah.
this book. That's correct.
Well, you see, very interesting question. Whoever has asked this question, you see,
Jack in and out of the box.
whoever it may be, my take on the whole issue is that whether you talk about, it's a beautifully acronymed WEEP, WEEP, Water, Education, Economy, and Population Problems. How long will they let Pakistan survive if survival is impossible? First and foremost thing is, I for one, I have discounted the impossibility of the survival of Pakistan. Pakistan will sail through. It will survive. But what I am trying to highlight is that we need to identify the vulnerabilities to be leveraged in order to strengthen our response matrix to security threats. The vulnerabilities are, you have very beautifully acronymed WEEP. Everything. The Indus Water Treaty is a very serious vulnerability. India has started step one. Why has it taken 60 long years or 50 years for India to come to this conclusion? Kishan Ganga, as per the world, you know it here, you have been there. It is an irrelevant issue. They have made a non issue as an issue. So therefore, there has to be a response matrix. That's what I'm saying. Or information warfare, which will have a paradigm vertical, all these aspects, water, economy, blah, 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 WEEP. This kind of sub-vertical should be there to address such kind of issues, identify the matrix of the vulnerability of the enemy, and keep pinpricking. We need to do it in a coherent, in a short, medium, and long-term strategy. Not जब कि वो renaming आएगा जब 30 हम 40 निकालेंगे. It has to go out as a coherent strategy, as a long-term perspective. जैसा अभी बात कर रहे हैं ना कि 2047 तक we want India to become, if nothing, at least a global power or developed nation. We need to identify an aim like this. All these things put together, Rakesh, you will agree there is a requirement to make a national security strategy which is
Yeah.
not there. It's an informal document. We all know रक्षा मंत्री का वो किताब है ना जो मैंने खुद ही
Ah,
ड्राफ्ट बनाया था. So therefore there is a requirement. A lot of things need to be done, but at least some beginning is coming. The very fact that you are asking a question like this in reference to this book, I take it that you have read the book. I take it
yes.
that you have come to the conclusion निचोड़ के आप आगे हैं इसलिए आप सवाल पूछ रहे हैं. I do not discount, I do not write off Pakistan at all. It will continue to survive in whatever form until unless the main primary stakeholder in the instant case is India. Until unless we leverage these.
Sir, if you permit, I think there's a Pakistani viewer. I will what you're saying. He's already these sentiments are there, I thought I will just add this. Pakistan doesn't need to survive without China. China will always need Pakistan, and we can leverage this relationship to boost our economy and strengthen our military.
Korea, by all means, India will be very proud and happy if you do that. We'll be very happy if you do that. We also want a stable Pakistan to coexist with India or at least be a neighbor of India. We don't want to waste our time and energy in such kind of infectious kind of things, which tire us, tire the people down, tire the economy down, tire other capabilities down. We'll be very happy if that happens. It'll be a wonderful thing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Sir, we take on the next question from Colonel R.P. Singh. Sir, China has provided significant support in military, financial, and invested in Pakistan's infrastructure projects. Have marine presence in Indian Ocean. Will China try extended control over Pakistan to have control in Southeast Asia region?
RP sir, a very interesting question. Let me also tell you that today Southeast Asian regions of the ASEAN, do you know that they have got the highest quantum of trade with China? The largest trading partner as far as the ASEAN nations are concerned is with China. They have got the highest trade surplus with China. China has penetrated into the way of life so much so. That's why India is desperate in trying to make its Act East policy success. We want to go into Southeast Asia. We want to go into the ASEAN. That is why we have created BIMSTEC, taken Myanmar, taken Thailand along. Now other countries in the ASEAN nations are also slowly coming in. So the basic issue is that China, the question that you have asked is, it's already happening. It is happening. Why it is happening? Because in mid-80s, when America decided that they have already come to the conclusion of their strategy to break or disintegrate Russia, they took a call to withdraw their presence, their footprint from ASEAN nations, East Asia. By having created a void, they allowed the China to come in and fill the void in terms of economy, in terms of other resources. The BRI has gone in a big way. You name Indonesia, talk about Malaysia, talk about Singapore, talk about any country, Brunei, talk Philippines के साथ लड़ाई हो रहा है, ठीक है कि नहीं? वियतनाम के साथ लड़ाई हो रही है, but साथ ही साथ they have their eyes focused on the issues in order to contain them. What is the 9-dash line or 11-dash line all about?
Yeah.
90% of the South China Sea is being claimed by China. It is disregarding the international rules-based order of UNCLOS. So all these things, they have not been able to formulate a code of conduct despite several meetings. They're supposed to have a code of conduct, how to behave, how to navigate, how to respect the rules-based international order as far as freedom of navigation is concerned, freedom of flight in the air and space is concerned. They have not been able to formulate. So what I mean to say is the question which you are asking, sir, is it's already taking place. So therefore, the global order, not only India, the global order has to put its act together like the way it has happened in Sri Lanka. You have Japan coming in, you have UK coming in, you have France coming in. Everyone is putting some money there in Sri Lanka in order to counter China strategy, the BRI strategy or the Silk Route strategy, as it is happening in Bangladesh. There is a nuclear reactor which is being developed by Russia. Russia's money is coming in. It is happening in big way in our northeast. The Japanese money is coming in. Japan is also offered assistance to Thailand as also Myanmar. So similarly, it has to be a collective involvement of multiple stakeholders to counter and contain China effectively in the ASEAN. If I have understood your question properly.
Right, sir, we'll have to quickly say because we're going to miss out on questions, sir. So I'll request you to quickly
I'll make
comment,
it
sir.
short only.
Yes, sir. Kal AK Singh, sir, Pakistan economy $3 trillion, or did you mean 3 trillion debt?
No. $3 trillion US dollar by 2050. Let me complete my sentence. I said by 2050, while India would be touching a figure of 35 to 40 trillion US dollar of economy, Pakistan would be touching. It's not doing that bad. Let me tell you, it's the economy has shown resilience to large an extent despite the challenges. It has got the potential to actually kickstart. So that is what I'm saying. It will be nearing 3.4 to 3.5 trillion US dollar by 2050 is if some fundamental sense prevails in the minds of the people of Pakistan. That fundamental sense is not coming in because there is very serious fault line between the leadership and the deep state. Also, Rakesh, if I may share, I'm convinced that even the political leadership, they are not genuine and sincere in extending the hand of friendship to India.
Hmm.
I hope I have answered your question, friend. And today, going by the PPP terms, I think your the question I suppose is from Akilendra Kumar. Pakistan's GDP as on today is $374 billion, if I am not wrong. Maybe $5-6 this side that side. But when you convert this into rupees, it comes PPP terms. It comes to 1.3 trillion dollar. So correct me if I am wrong. Roughly, it comes to that much in case of PPP terms. Okay, so therefore, reaching a target of 3 trillion by 2050 is not a tall order. Pakistan can do a lot.
Sir, next four questions back to back I will flash because they are in our audience are in conversation with each other, and thereafter you can take on, sir. Uh, I am projecting this viewers' questions purposely because he seems to be from Pakistan. So this is the narrative which we must know what he's saying, sir. His first comment is Chinese companies give much better salaries to Pakistani laborer. They also provide healthcare and life insurance. They run hospitals and schools for these laborers and their kids. Next, he says, I've been to areas in Pakistan where Chinese companies, both public and private sector, are working, and living standards of people in those areas have dramatically improved. To this, Jack in and out of box has says, you are ignoring CPEC infrastructure maintenance over the coming years. In addition, he says, how will Pakistan pay principal interest and future maintenance costs? So these are four conversations I thought I must say. In fact, there is yet another comment which has just come. Chinese presence in Pakistan will only benefit the common people of Pakistan. It's already happening. Whenever Chinese settle in Pakistan, property rates in that area has skyrocketed. Now, seeing all these comments, sir, can you guess the mindset? Are they ignorant, or do you see some merit in what this viewer of ours has said?
Firstly, thank you very much, Mirza Ahmadi Saab, whoever you are. Thank you for this input. I fully understand. I am also Chinese qualified. I have quite hands-on experience in dealing with Chinese. Good. If there is a change in the strategy of China in dealing with the Pakistani environment, it is very good. That's the way to go. But if it is not happening, well, it to the serious detriment of the growth of CPEC to be realized on the ground. One. Number two, there is a concept of, I wonder if I have shared this with you, the islands of convenience. So kindly don't feel hurt about this, whoever Pakistani or Chinese friend, because by and by, in three messages or this the text that you have shown, there is a principle underlying information warfare central theme being projected. It's very good. That's the way it happens. You are from 8 core, you know it better than me. But the fact of the matter is, there is a thing known as island of convenience. If my friend, whoever is asking this question, if you know how, you acknowledge, otherwise, it doesn't matter. The island of convenience is based on the paradigm of weaponizing the Han Chinese so as to so as to expand the sphere of influence of China uh, all over the world. I've seen it in California, been seen it in Mexico, saw it in Canada. Canada में तो भरा हुआ है जगह जगह. Saw it in Europe, हर एक जगह. So what I'm coming to is that apart from weaponizing the human population of the Han Chinese, there is also a realization to strategize their movement in a manner to make a BRI popular and acceptable to the environment. BRI, as it is, close to 1 trillion or more than $1 trillion was invested, but it turned out to be unproductive, unpopular. Hence, countries like Italy, 49 countries have backed out. Out of
Yes.
at the peak of its success, 164 countries have joined. Now, less than 125 are left, and 25 more are backing out. So, in order to make it attractive, China has gone in to kind of modify its modus operandi. One. Number two, under the names of Global Security Initiative, Global Development Initiative, and likewise, there are two, three other names. So these two names are very, very popular. They are carrying out suitable modifications to make the host country accept the offers which China is making. How far they will succeed, it is anybody's guess. I wish you all the best and thank you for giving us this input.
Right, sir. Colonel Jitendra Chauhan, sir, with so much investment in CPEC by China and Pakistan falling in debt, with background, do you think the local population is supporting partially? We've seen, and you have already answered that how exactly the local population, those who have probably benefited or their relations have benefited, or are target of the information warfare are saying on ground, going by the experience and what we have studied Chinese activities in, whether it is in African continent or it is in Sri Lanka, we know for reality that China cannot be benign sort of thing without taking its own interest as a booty back, sir. Uh, in addition, sir, we go ahead until you want to add some point in this, sir.
Pakistan is being coerced. Pakistan is left with no option with a Khali Kotori moving from pillar to post. Even before the new dispensation, the ruling government, India Alliance took oath on whichever date it was happening. I think the Prime Minister of Pakistan was already in China meeting the
Yes.
president there. For what? Not for seeking support, for survival. Survival means what? It is bailout. Survival means what? It is debt reservicing. 25 billion, $28 billion have to be given in form of debt servicing as the bottom line interest to be paid against the
Correct.
total amount which China has invested. China's investment, let me also clarify to the viewers, there are different types, government to government. Then you have from nationalized bank to nationalized bank. There are investment opportunities. There are grants. There are aids. Somebody had asked me a question. What is the difference between a grant and aid? I answered it last time. But when it comes to the loan, grant and aid, you see the grant and aid they have no interest component. Okay, the loan has got a component. In case of Chinese loans, they are all commercial loans.
Yeah.
The rate of interest of the commercial loans they vary between anything more than 2%. Generally it is 4 to 6%.
Correct.
Okay, the international agencies like IMF, World Bank, you have Asia Development Bank, there are two three more. Their rates of interest are 1 to 2, 1 to 1.5. आजकल कहीं में आज शाम को ही पढ़ रहा था 2% के हो गया है. This is a very nominal rate of interest.
Like
That
Japanese has given us for this bullet train, I think it's about 1% loans.
it is 1%, less than 1%, less
Less
than
than
1%.
1%.
So these kind of things, and Chinese, it is colossal. It is compounding. It is not simple interest,
Yes.
compounding interest. So therefore, to pay back Chinese loans, one has to be very, very careful. So Pakistan, like you correctly answered, sir, since you are asking this question, you know the answer as well. The truth is that Pakistanis do not like Chinese having beer in the region. They do
Yeah.
not like the beer factories which have come up. You know, you are an Indian officer. All along the CPEC, at a distance of 100 kilometers, there is a beer factory. है कि नहीं मुझे नहीं पता है मैंने कहीं पढ़ा है ठीक है they eat they consume pork extensively like any other ordinary vegetarian so it is against the religion of Pakistanis they indulge in many other things which actually doesn't allow me to articulate in such a kind of a prestigious platform which is against the ethics of the Pakistanis and likewise. So therefore, again, I'm saying the vulnerabilities of all these places in and around Pakistan must be correctly identified towards the advantage and gain of to achieve the national interest of India.
Sir,
I'll not say
isn't
I'll
it
not say
ironical?
Pakistan ko todo. I'll not say Pakistan ko todo modo. ये नहीं है. Pakistan will survive, but India also should identify and leverage these opportunities and
Yeah.
vulnerabilities to our advantage.
Even
सोते
if we
रहोगे.
don't leverage, even if we don't leverage, sir, we should actually learn to, those lessons what we can learn and guard against any sort of mistakes that on its way our neighbors or any other country for that matter has done. India has never ever had the expansionist or attitude. We are just learning, and the very purpose of this discussion was also to learn where have things gone wrong so that we can guard against it, sir. But isn't it ironical, sir, the way you were saying about beer factory and pork and all this, that a country that was created on the name of Islam, its greatest friend is a country which is atheist, which does not believe in God. So, I mean, you can have these sort of controversies and war for what? For money, money for
Today,
survival. So, isn't
before
it show the desperation of a country which was created on the name of gods? But it's okay; it's their business, sir. We'll take today's last question, sir. That is, ask: is there any possibility in the future that China will claim Pakistan territory?
in 2012, very good question. Huh? 2012 time doesn't permit. We can go on. Particularly both of us when we sit together talk about countries like Pakistan, China. We can carry on till cows come home. In 2012, the Pakistan intelligence corps officer had given an interview. I'm forgetting his name. This went viral, worldwide circulated. He had said, he had said, I know it is going to sound very exaggerated. Okay. He said by 2030, Pakistan, entire nation of Pakistan would have become an autonomous, not autonomous, what do you call that here? As an integral part of China. This
Correct,
he
sir.
had forecasted when in 2012. Okay, because in 2012 certain activities has started taking place, whether it was Musharraf offering water to China or Xi Jinping showing its teeth prior to his assumption of the presidential stature in 2013, or the concept of CPEC, having taken CPEC is the flagship operation of the BRI. Everything is dependent on the CPEC. Okay, they have got how many? Six arteries. Out of six, CPEC happens to be one, and out of six, four of them are passing through Kashgar, Xinjiang province. Okay, so it was so much so that they had come to a conclusion that sooner or later Pakistan is going to be something like Xinjiang and Tibet in future if suitable remedial preventive measures, effective measures are not taken, not in form of one or two bases, American bases at Gwadar, not in form of even Russia is also trying, by the way, let me tell you. I've just come back from a track two. I'm not supposed to discuss or tell you. Russia is also, there is a great game going on in this particular nexus between Balochistan, the Pakistan and Afghanistan. There's a great game going on. It is not to prevent the communist expansion toward this. It is to prevent something else. Okay, so that I'm duty bound moral not to discuss or
It's
divulge.
okay, sir. It's okay, sir. I think we should
Uh,
restrict ourselves to this,
yeah,
sir. With this,
that's
sir, I think we've had a wonderful discussion. I'll request all the audience, we still holding on. This shows that the discussion was wonderful. I'll request those of you who have not pressed the like button to please do so. Also, share and subscribe. So, thank you very much. It is wonderful discussion. We are looking forward to few more, and we'll try and be regularly inviting you in near futures. Thank you, sir, and Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, Rakesh, it was a great honor and privilege to come back to Strive after a long gap and reconnect with the audience. And it's a treat to actually learn. All the questions are a great learning as far as I'm concerned. But the fact of the matter remains that India has to be very, very watchful in this window which I indicated. If China has to reunify Taiwan, the window is available till December 2025. You can have another discussion. This is my analysis. And this window till 2025, the window has started. Anything kinetic may take off. It is, as per my assessment, it can get triggered by simplest of incidents taking place along the western border. Simplest of them. So therefore, we have to keep our powder dry. It is not to be an alarmist. The hallmark of a soldier lies in anticipating any pitfalls which is coming around the corner and be prepared for the eventuality. My aim as a panelist or as one-on-one discussion with you is to keep our nation ready. Each one has got a responsibility. Let's not close our eyes and ears and pass on everything to the verticals of governing parties and the bodies. We also have a role, and we must discharge our responsibility and mandate towards that end as veterans. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. On this issue of Taiwan, the way China has carried out the recent activities, somehow I have my doubt whether the aim was actually to go in for a war or it was more for the show. We will keep it for our future discussions, sir. The way the type of forces that were amassed along the Taiwan was a suspect, how serious China was. It seemed that it was for domestic consumption and not that much for unification of Taiwan by using force. With this, sir, I think we are seriously run out of time, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Excellent discussion and very nice arguments that you have presented, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Looking forward for another interaction very soon, sir. Thank you
Thank
and
you.
Jai Hind.
Thank you, Rakesh. Bye bye.